Welcome to my channel. So today what we're doing is we're fixing an e-bike. So during maintenance, this cable here, so it's a Kapton ribbon cable, so flex cable, that was damaged during maintenance. So it was just broken off. As you can see here, the tracks lead nowhere. So what I'm going to be doing in this procedure is basically scrape off the top layer of the finish here, protecting the copper wire. Then we're going to be cleaning it, tinning it, soldering wires, and bridging from one half to the other. So as you can see, it takes a bit of scratching, but you can get through that layer very easily with a simple utility knife or an X-Acto blade. They are very small, so you just got to be careful with them. And you find yourself very quickly looking at a very nice copper finish. Here we're just going to be trimming it to get rid of that torn edge so that things match up more evenly when we bring in the other half. Um, so I love this repair. It was quick and easy, and it put a battery pack into service. The manufacturers of e-bikes I find are very deplorable in that way, where after a few years only, I experienced it with my mom, 3 years, and the bike was no longer supported. You had to buy a whole new bike. In this case, they were in luck. It was simply a whole new $800 battery. But this made it a worthy repair to come and take a look at, and I was glad to give it a kick at the can. So we're just getting rid of anything that might be left over from that initial scratching, um, cleaning it up before we start working on the second half. So while I'm working on this, um, I just wanted to welcome you guys to my channel. This is my first video. Um, I expect to be doing more as I go, as I find other interesting repairs. So in this case, I couldn't find any help online on how to fix a Kapton cable repair. So I got some advice from a local shop, and I really gave it a go. So this was my first one on this type of medium, and it really went easier than expected. So here, what happened, I just put a bit of Kapton tape behind, so to keep the two halves together. I struggle a bit more than I should have to get everything in line, but that's how she goes sometimes. Um, Once aligned, though, we were in business. So this is simply patient work. As you can see here, I jump cut. I just trimmed the extra Kapton tape around it, and I re-anchored the bottom so that we could work on it. And it's the same thing over again. So we're going to be scratching this, and then we are going to clean it again with the abrasive pen. So that was a generic fiberglass pen that you can get anywhere. So if you guys found my channel, I hope that we get to show you a few more interesting things as the summer goes on. I don't know how frequently I'll post a video, but we'll try to make it a semi-regular occurrence. And I love to repair electronics. It's a lot of fun. I also do a lot of mechanical work. I'm a certified TIG welder, so I play with a lot of things, big and small. But this one here was very fun. So there we go. A bit of fast forward on there. It's so when you see the copper wire that I put to bridge the tracks over, you'll notice that so to give you an idea of scale, the cable that I use is 30 American wire gauge, so that's about 10 thousandths of an inch, or a quarter of a millimeter wide. So you'll have to excuse my shaky hands a bit as the video goes on. Um, this is teeny. So there we go, getting rid of that last little bit of layer, and then we're gonna be giving it a good old bath in 99% alcohol. So there we go, get rid of all that dust, sponge it up, and then we are in business. So I'm gonna jump here to using my soldering iron. So I'm using leaded solder here. Simple but effective. Tried and true. So we're going to use that flux mostly in this step to get rid of any chemical contaminants that we could have there on the surface of the copper. And we're also laying a base layer of tin to help secure our cables down once we get to that next step. I go through a circuitous route. You might not want to use exactly what I used in this repair. I played around, and I think that's the hallmark of learning and getting better at things, is that you're willing to try different techniques. So I went the solder paste route, as you'll see, and it really took way too long, and I think it didn't bring anything to the process. And the key was really to use a good solder flux paste. And as you can see here, I'm using the MG Chemicals No Clean solder, but in liquid form. And I think that just wasn't cutting it when it came to sticking those wires down. But we'll get to that a bit later on the video. I really apologize for the audio. We don't have the ambient sound of the repair. It's something I'll work on. This is my first video, so we'll get through those things one step at a time. But I just love the finish of those tin tracks, ready to go. So they're cleaned up with alcohol. So that's a step that I just jumped a bit over here, but yeah, I did clean the flux out with alcohol, and then meticulously, as you can see, I am taking these bits of cable that I've pre-tinned off screen. So I use my iron, like I've flooded with solder, and I really just ensure that the whole of the cable is covered before I bend it and then place it. So I'm only going to make you sit through that first one because it took me a lot longer than it should have. For the other ones, it's remember, we're talking about 1/4 of a millimeter wide tracks, and yeah, I'm really living up to that name of struggle bus here. I'm trying even some of that paste flux to hold things in place, but still they're jumping around everywhere. So fresh clean up with alcohol, and then I'm trying here the solder paste, again leaded solder, to hold down the components, and I'm hoping that by heating it with heat gun, I'll be able to just rely on surface tension to grip those cables, bring them centered over the tracks, and tack them down. But it didn't work as I expected it. So I would skip this step entirely. Just a good pre-tinning, get ready. Lay your wires down. I would probably still use the flux paste to hold everything down as I'm doing the repair, but I would give it a chance, whereas I didn't in this process. So I jumped to another option right away. And, it could have worked. It didn't. Or it didn't exactly according to plan. It might have contributed to the success of it, but yeah, it was very time consuming. So I wouldn't recommend it again. And if you don't have solder paste, then, just rely on your tinning on the first step. So there you are. The bits are back in place, and I'm giving them a good uh, dose of heat here to ensure that I'm melting all of that flux. That solder paste that's underneath the cables. So it takes me a good few tries, honestly. I had to bump up the temperature all the way up to 400 degrees, as opposed to my preferred 330 usually when I'm working with leaded components. So we are able to get this pretty well tacked down. Like, it honestly worked. But wait till you see later the magic that happens with the right flux. And that's always the key. Even I was talking about my welding earlier. Even when welding big things, you need the right flux. It's, I find, the most important component when you're doing any sort of soldering or welding. So as you can see here, things really start to get liquidy, and the wires get centered, especially towards the end here. You can see them wiggle a bit and get centered. I just love seeing that happen. But as we go through inspection here in a second, you'll see that things didn't quite line up. I think there is a bump still in the middle where those two pieces of Kapton tape come together, and that lifted my bits of cable or wire. And as you can see here, this one didn't stick. Of course, it has to be the one in the middle. It has to be the one in the middle. Um, all the others seem pretty good, but this being so small, I was I was trying to be creative here, and I put a piece of wire underneath to really force them to stick down. And I gave it some heat, and the what I should have expected happened. Boink, out of here. So, here I'm one try later. I tried it again with the heat. Not doing great. I'm still having some bits that refuse to stick down. So I thought, let's give it a good bath. Let's clean that stuff up. Let's get back to a known state here before we continue with other methods. So there you are. Again, remember those cables are a quarter of a millimeter thick. So 4 of them make 1 millimeter, or each of them is only 10 thousandths of an inch. So yeah, you have to be pretty patient with them. And there you go. Now you can see things are really happening here. Some good cleaning action. Everything gets liquid. I wonder if the flux didn't actually transmit the heat better to the substrate. But everything looks to be in much better shape. I still have that bridging in the middle. But I'm a big boy. I can handle it. So here I come, ready to risk it all with my X-Acto blade again. But yeah, you just have to love the work that this flux did. It's good stuff. It's the MG Chemical No Clean solder flux paste. Just love it. The liquid stuff does get in between things and like infiltrates better under chips, but the paste in this application is just amazing. I wonder if it's just stuck a bit longer, maybe, to the material, letting it survive a bit of a higher heat without oxidizing. Regardless, here we are. Just a little bit, if I can muster the steadiness. I'm also getting my fingers burnt here because everything is hot at this point. So it was quite a feat to get to that. There's still some bridging, but I'm a welder. I can use a grinder. So I'm just gonna go and give it a quick finishing pass with my cutting tool of choice here. So I don't have a grinder like I would in the welding shop, but I do have an X-Acto, and that stuff is very soft. So everything is tied down. It is amazing what that flux did. It's really completed the whole thing. Um, as you can see, I'm giving it quite a bit of a forceful application of a leverage here, and trying to split them up just that extra little bit. Everything's going to get coated in silicone conformal coating. I don't have this on camera because I left this cool down before I went on, and I had to buzz it to make sure that I didn't have any bridges. But the following day, I gave it, and I really made sure that that silicone got all the way down and around these wires so that we don't have a case of bridging under flex or anything of the sort. Also, another consideration, you'll notice that I tried to have my wires not all end at the same point so that we don't have a sharp stress riser there, and that we don't have the cable either breaking again or lifting the tracks. So I tried to kind of arrange them in a way that it diffuses a bit that stress mechanically to the cable for longer use. Again, this is a cable that, so it's one of those little applications where you'll only need the flex when you install it. So this is the little button and light that indicate the battery charge level through the battery case. So it is not part of the main board, but it is kind of a daughter board giving you an LED and a button on the cover of the battery. So it's not a lot of stress. I'm confident that this will hold. And with the silicone conformal coating, I'm sure it's going to see years of use if it's put back into service. So back with the 99% alcohol here, get rid of all that flux, get this very clean, and we are in business.